What's up, everyone? I just finished The Legend of Korra Season 4, so today I'm going to sit down and review it. Real quick, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, comment down below, tell me what you thought of the season. Also, shortly I'll be reviewing the entire series of Legend of Korra as a whole, so I'm kind of excited for that video to kind of put all my thoughts together, and I'll also be ranking all 7 seasons of Legend of Korra with Avatar The Last Airbender, all of them in the kind of Avatar universe, I guess. So stay tuned for those videos. Anyway, let's get on with the review. So this season takes place 3 years after the results of Season 3, where Zahir took, injured Korra, and he put, metal in her, or mercury, or some form of, metal. So she's, weak and stuff, and she goes on this, quest to, find herself. Meanwhile, Kuvira, who's, the villain of the season, I'm not sure if she was in Season 3, I don't recall. She's making an army, and she's, taking different, Earth Kingdom, villages and towns, and she's trying to build them back better and create the Earth Kingdom as a whole, unite the Earth Kingdom as one nation. And she claims she's helping them, but it turns out she's not helping them. She's more of a tyrant and a dictator and stuff like that. So that's really the plot of the season. It gets obviously more complex than that. Korra goes to the swamp and she meets Toph, who's returning. I guess Toph's still alive. So that was cool that Toph was in the season. Kuvira captures Zaofu, which obviously is that big metal city that we got introduced to in Season 3. And she kidnaps Suyin and her family, and then there's a plot where they rescue them. Beifong and a few others rescue Suyin and the family. And then the final plot of the season is Kuvira tries to take Republic City and essentially take over the Earth Kingdom. But she has this giant mech, and she's using these spiritual roots or something like that. She tries to take the city. Obviously, she fails, of course, and Korra's team wins. The heroes and Korra win. So that's pretty much the plot of the season. Kuvira gets defeated. Obviously, there's a lot more character arcs in there and lots more plot, and there was a lot actually going on in this season, despite it only being 13 episodes. There's a plot with Bolin and Varric and the whole Spirit Vine thing, and there's just a lot of subplots in the season. So I'm not going to go over every single one, but that's really just the broad plot of the season. So overall, I actually thought this season was pretty good. I did have issues at times with it, which I'll get to in a bit. But I thought Kuvira was great as the main villain in this series, and that's really probably the best thing the show has done. Is I think all of the villains in the series have been great. The weakest would be the guy from Season 2, but they've all I think done their job as the villain, and they complement Korra well. And I think that's been the best thing for Korra's development as a character, is the villains really make her character better. I have some issues with other things about Korra, but I think the villains do a good job there. I say this a lot, and it's kind of a known fact at this point, but the best villains are the villains that you can understand, you can relate to in a way. They have understandable motives, and that makes sense. Kuvira just wants to make the world better, but she's going to extreme lengths to do it, so that's where she becomes the villain. But she has good intentions deep down, and I like that a lot about Kuvira's character, and just really about this show's villains, because all the villains have been similar in that sense, where they have something that you can understand, and it just makes the show so much better when you have villains you can relate to. I thought throughout the season the plot was well constructed and well paced, aside from that filler episode Remembrances, which was episode 8 or something. I felt that was very unnecessary and kind of a drag on the season, that they felt the need to have this flashback episode where they just go over everything that's already happened. I never dig it when shows do episodes like that. I prefer just straight filler. If you're going to give me filler, just make it filler. Have just some plot that has nothing to do with anything. I don't like it when they just go lazy and just tell the editors to make an episode. I don't like that at all. But I thought the season, aside from that episode, it slowly evolved, and the plot, like I said, felt very well paced. And it slowly unveiled, and things got more intense as the season went on. And there's events happening throughout the season that make each episode memorable, and each episode kind of feels like it has something going on. And that's really important, I think, for a show like this, because you want the season to feel like it has a flow to it. The season should have this flow where it keeps moving forward. And Avatar The Last Airbender does that perfectly, where there's always something going on. Aang and his gang are always doing something, and that's what makes the show so entertaining and so easy to watch. And I thought this season did that really well. Not as good as Avatar, but I did a pretty good job at it. Another thing I liked about this season, I thought it was cool that they brought back Toph to kind of help Korra's character, kind of like this Luke and Yoda thing, where Toph's helping Korra get better at things, and just kind of like regain her confidence and become the Avatar again. And I liked Toph's arc in the season. She came back later in this season, and she actually did some fighting and stuff, and that was really cool. They didn't overdo having Toph in the season, which I thought they were going to, and do something dumb and have her be like a main character again. Like, no, I don't want that. Just little cameos, all I need, and I liked what they did here. I had no problems with Toph in this season at all. This is the last season of Legend of Korra, but it didn't really have an ending, but I think that's all right in my book, because the show never really had a focus or this overarching plot, so it's fitting that it doesn't really have an ending. Like Avatar: Last Airbender, day one, the objective, stop the Fire Lord, and that's the entire plot throughout all 3 seasons. This one never had that, and that's one of the biggest differences between this and Avatar. So I don't think this needed some big ending, and it never made an effort to set up an ending, I don't think. It was just kind of like, all right, this is going to be the last season, and that's it. I'm fine with that. I don't have any complaints. It wasn't particularly bad in my book. And the ending really was just kind of hinted at Korra and Asami having a relationship, or at least I think that's how I took it. So that's cool. And they went on like vacation in the spirit world, so it didn't necessarily say, oh, things are going to end. Obviously, it seems like the world goes on, but our time with the world ends, which is fine. I don't really feel like we need a season 5 or anything. I was fine with this ending, and I thought it did its purpose. But my biggest issue with this season were the characters. Some of the characters, especially characters like the Beifong, like Suyin and Chief Beifong and her kids. Like the characters, particularly Suyin, she's always complaining about like the villains being violent and aggressive, and even like Korra and really everyone in the show, they're always like ragging on the villains about like being aggressive. But I feel like the heroes are just as aggressive and just as violent and just as quickly to use violence to get their way. It felt like this like very complex political situation, the plot of the season, but we were just expected to side with the heroes. It felt like both sides weren't necessarily good. I guess Korra's group would be the better of 2 evils, but it's like, Korra's group, they wanted to bring back like monarchies and tyranny, and like it's hard to side with that. I get it, it's a kids show and kids don't really care about stuff like that, but watching it older, it's not, that doesn't really work for me. There's this whole plot about the heir of the throne for Ba Sing Se, and there's just this kid who has no political experience whatsoever. So the city that's already unstable, they're gonna have this kid who doesn't know anything go and run it. Like, I don't know. Do they think about stuff like this? Like, our characters that we're supposed to trust and supposed to like are comfortable with doing that? I don't know. It's stuff like that bugs me. Like, another scene in the show that I really did have some issues with was when Kuvira is attacking Zaofu. There's a scene where Korra shows up and she's all back and she's all like healthy again. I guess she's kind of healthy again. She shows up and Suyin just tells Korra, she's like, oh, go destroy Kuvira's army and go into Avatar State and destroy Kuvira's army. Like, that is just terrible character writing. Like, you have this character who is supposed to like Suyin, and she's just telling Korra to go kill thousands of soldiers just because I don't want Kuvira taking over my city, even though Kuvira isn't blatantly doing anything bad. She's not like genociding Earth Kingdom citizens. She's just a little aggressive with her tactics, and Suyin just says, go kill all these people just because they want to take my city. And overall, I don't mean to crap on Suyin too much, but she just seemed like this like self-centered tyrant who just was power hungry and she didn't want to lose her power. That really felt like her character throughout the entire season, and overall she was easily my least favorite character this season. I'm not sure if I'm alone with that, but I had a lot of issues with her as a character. Like another scene with her, she forgave her son. Once again, I don't remember the son's name. After he like surrendered, he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, I did all this bad stuff with Kuvira, but oh, I'm sorry, so that makes it all right. And Kuvira's like, oh, you can come back. Like, okay, well, he just did war crimes. Does he not get punished just because he's your family? Like, that's stuff like that's so stupid. I thought this season was like very political, government kind of way with like tyranny and dictatorship and stuff like that. And I thought they did this like whole political thing terribly. Like, the season felt like it was just tyrants fighting tyrants. It didn't really feel like there was a good side, but we were supposed to be rooting for Korra's team, even though I didn't feel like they were better than Kuvira's team. And at times I even found myself rooting for Kuvira. Obviously, towards the end, Kuvira just became this like ruthless dictator, which was predictable that was going to happen. But at the beginning, it was hard to side with Korra's team. Also, I didn't like the weird like Spy Kids airbenders where they had like, these weird like suits and they were like flying like Spider-Man or something. I thought that was dumb. And I'll stand by this, lava bending is so stupid. Bolin does it like it's nothing, and it just makes absolutely no sense at all. Like I talked about it quite extensively in my season 3 review, but you can't just create lava. That's not earthbending, and don't get me going on that again. I also have some complaints about Korra as a character, but I'm going to try to focus my series review on that. As the show this season did have my usual issues with Korra, but it was in line with the other seasons, so I'm just going to group that into my series review. In fact, the only characters I liked in this season were Toph, Kuvira, Tenzin, and his kids for the most part, and Mako, and I like Korra at times. And I thought Korra was definitely one of the most like rational characters in the show. Definitely felt like she wanted to do good, whereas some of the other characters in the show just felt like aggressive tyrants and stuff like that. But overall, I did enjoy this season, despite how much I hated on it. I just love Avatar: The Last Airbender so much. I hold this show to a really high standard, because for me, Avatar: The Last Airbender, those 3 seasons are perfect. But the plot of this season was really good, and the action and the villain were great. Just the characters at times had some mixed motives, and they're just either I had issues with them or they were bland and forgettable. So I'm going to give this season a B-. It was pretty good, just it wasn't great. So that would do it for my review of Season 4 of The Legend of Korra. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also comment down below, tell me what you thought of Season 4. And stay tuned for my review, for my series review and my rankings of all 7 seasons. And thanks for watching, have a great day.